Exploring Life. Chapter 1: The Study of Life. Part 2. Science is a powerful tool, but it has limits. Questions cannot be answered with complete certainty. Ethical and practical constraints shape what scientists can study and how they study it. Some questions fall outside the scope of science entirely. And at its core, science is a human endeavor, carried out by people with all the strengths and flaws that come with being human. Before we dive into some of biology's more complex and potentially divisive topics, let's take a moment to examine these limits more closely. Science doesn't deal in absolute proof. Instead, it builds evidence to support or challenge ideas. When a weather forecast says there's an 85% chance of rain, it means it's very likely, but not guaranteed. Likewise, rigorous testing shows that vaccines are highly effective and overwhelmingly safe, but no drug or procedure is 100% effective or risk-free for every person. So while science can't offer complete certainty, it does offer the best available knowledge to guide wise, informed decisions. Some things can't be studied directly, like events from the distant past or phenomena beyond the reach of current tools. In these cases, scientists rely on models or simulations to explore what can't be directly observed. For example, computer models can recreate early universe conditions, helping us test theories about cosmic origins, even if they can't perfectly capture past realities. To study complex biological systems, scientists often use reductionism, breaking things down into smaller parts, such as individual cells or specific biochemical pathways. This detailed approach improves our understanding, but it may overlook how those parts interact within the whole living system. Science faces many limits, not only in what we can study, but in what we should. Unethical experiments, such as those conducted in Nazi camps during World War II, caused immense harm and are universally condemned. Importantly, the scientific community rejects such data, not just because of how they were obtained, but to uphold ethical integrity and prevent harm. Today, some experiments, like creating human-animal hybrids or conducting certain types of stem cell research, raise serious ethical concerns, even when they may offer potential benefits. In these cases, society must weigh scientific curiosity against moral responsibility. Sometimes, researchers rely on non-experimental methods to study patterns and relationships without manipulating variables directly. For example, we know smoking causes lung cancer not because people were assigned to smoke, but because large-scale observational studies revealed strong links over time. Science strives for higher certainty, but how certain do we really need to be before we act? Earth is the only known planet that supports life, and we cannot run controlled experiments on a second Earth to see the impact of our actions. So when concerns arise about human effects on the planet, we probably should take them seriously, even without perfect data or a control group, because the stakes are simply too high to ignore. This figure highlights the consequences of the known limits of science. The tragic case of thalidomide, a drug used in the late 1950s and early 1960s to treat morning sickness. Although it passed model testing in animals, it caused severe birth defects in humans, often resulting in shortened or missing limbs, in over 10,000 children worldwide. In the U.S., widespread harm was largely avoided thanks to FDA reviewer Dr. Francis Kelsey, who delayed approval due to safety concerns. While the FDA is sometimes criticized for its slow drug approval process, in this case, that caution prevented a major tragedy. While science is a powerful tool, it is ultimately carried out by humans and subject to human flaws. There have been cases of falsified data, selective reporting, and undisclosed conflicts of interest that have undermined trust and distorted scientific conclusions. These issues don't reflect the principles of science itself, but rather the imperfections of the people involved. They serve as a reminder that transparency, accountability, and ethical standards are essential to maintaining the integrity of scientific research. One of the most shocking recent examples of data manipulation came from Alzheimer's research. In 2022, an investigation revealed that key images in a highly influential 2006 paper on the protein amyloid beta may have been intentionally manipulated. The study, published in Nature, supported the idea that amyloid plaques were central to Alzheimer's disease. This work helped guide billions of dollars in funding and drug development for nearly 2 decades. If the data were indeed falsified, it means entire research pathways and countless patient hopes were built on a shaky foundation. Similarly, in the case of the opioid crisis, Purdue Pharma downplayed the addictive potential of OxyContin, and academic research funded by the company helped promote the idea that opioids were safe for chronic pain, despite mounting evidence to the contrary. This led to widespread overprescription and a public health crisis that continues today. These cases are not just scientific scandals, they are human tragedies. They remind us that science, while powerful, depends on the honesty and rigor of the people doing it. Reproducibility ensures that discoveries can be confirmed again and again. What works once should work consistently. Peer review invites many voices to evaluate, refine, and improve ideas, catching errors and sharpening conclusions. Transparency opens the process to public view, making methods, data, and funding visible for collaboration and accountability. These aren't technicalities, they're the reason science can be trusted. They make science resilient, trustworthy, and continually better equipped to face whatever comes next. Let's try to answer the questions on this slide. Should we trust the scientific method? Should we trust science itself? And what about the scientists who carry it out? What exactly is biology's focus? Biology is incredibly broad, spanning everything from molecules to entire ecosystems. This diversity allows us to study life in all its forms, at every level and in every context. It includes countless disciplines, each with its own questions, tools, and connections to other sciences. That's why biologists work across so many fields: medicine, conservation, biotechnology, even space research. Take a look at this figure. It shows the many levels of life's organization, from the tiniest molecules to entire ecosystems and the biosphere. The arrows connect each level, illustrating how molecules form cells, cells build tissues and organs, and how individual organisms, like this rhino, are part of populations and ecosystems that shape the living world. As you may have guessed, biology can be studied at every level of life. At the molecular level, molecular biology investigates how DNA, proteins, and other molecules drive life's processes. At the cellular level, cell biology explores how cells are built and how they function. And at the tissue level, histology focuses on the microscopic structure of tissues that form organs and body systems. At the organ and organ system level, Anatomy focuses on the body's structures, while physiology looks at how those organs work together to keep us alive. Moving up in scale, ecology studies how organisms interact with each other and their environments. And at the largest scale, the biosphere, biogeochemistry explores how elements like carbon, nitrogen, and oxygen cycle through Earth's systems. Biology isn't a standalone science. Many areas of biology are deeply interdisciplinary. Modern biology draws on knowledge from multiple fields. Because a comprehensive view of life requires insights from chemistry, physics, geology, computer science, and more. This integration leads to a richer understanding of life and its complexities. And while it's not shown in the diagram, biology education, or pedagogy, is just as vital. Because without passionate teachers, none of this knowledge would make it to the next generation. In this first lecture, we explored what science is and what it isn't. We saw how scientific knowledge is built, tested, and refined, and how it works alongside other ways of understanding the world. You now have the tools to think like a scientist, to ask questions, test ideas, and evaluate evidence with clarity and respect. In our next lecture, we'll zoom all the way out beyond Earth, beyond life itself, to the birth of the universe. Because to understand life, we first need to understand the cosmic stage where it began. Before we move on, take a moment to reflect on what you've learned. Read the question on the screen and try to recall the key points from this lecture. To reinforce your understanding, be sure to read the textbook, review the flashcards, work through the practice problems, and complete the hands-on lab activity. Each of these resources is here to support your learning every step of the way.